Welcome back to your community. We have been awaiting your arrival, chosen soul. The people who have been silent the longest are about to become the voices nobody can ignore. If you have felt overlooked, dismissed, or unheard for years, this message is going to explain why your silence was never weakness. It was preparation, and what has been prepared in the quiet is about to be released with a force that will shift everything around you. If you have been waiting for your moment to speak, to be seen, to be heard, type the word voice in the comments. Because your voice is not lost, it is being sharpened. And sharpened voices cut through noise in ways that loud voices never can. Let me start with a truth that will reframe your entire story. You have not been silent because you had nothing to say. You have been silent because what you carry is too significant to waste on audiences that are not ready to receive it. There is a difference between being silenced and choosing silence. One is oppression, the other is strategy. And you, whether you realized it or not, have been operating in strategy. Think about this. When someone is constantly talking, constantly reacting, constantly defending, they are operating from a place of insecurity. They need to be heard because they are not sure they matter. But when someone is quiet, when they observe more than they speak, when they listen more than they respond, that is confidence, that is power, that is someone who knows their value does not depend on who acknowledges it. Let me explain what happens in silence that cannot happen in noise. When you are silent, you develop the ability to see patterns that talkers miss. You notice how people behave when they think nobody is paying attention. You see who is consistent and who is performing. You observe who operates with integrity when there is no audience and who changes their behavior based on who is watching. That level of discernment is only available to people who know how to be quiet long enough to observe. Silence also gives you emotional intelligence that reactive people lack. When you are not constantly defending yourself, explaining yourself, or justifying yourself, you have the mental space to actually process what is happening. You can analyze situations from multiple angles. You can consider long-term consequences instead of just immediate reactions. You can respond strategically instead of emotionally, and that strategic thinking becomes your greatest advantage. Think about a chess master. They do not make the first move that comes to mind. They sit in silence. They study the board. They consider multiple scenarios. They think 5 moves ahead. And when they finally move, it is calculated, precise, and effective. That is what your silence has been doing. You have been studying the board while everyone else was moving impulsively. And now, when you make your move, it is going to be so well thought out that people will wonder how you saw what they missed. You have been that person, the one in the room who did not need to dominate the conversation, the one who let others take credit while you kept building, the one who stayed quiet while others talked loud. And for a long time, people mistook your silence for weakness. They thought you were intimidated. They thought you lacked confidence. They thought you did not have anything valuable to contribute. They were wrong. Your silence was never submission. Your silence was observation. You were watching, you were learning, you were analyzing, you were taking notes on who was real and who was performing. You were gathering data on patterns, motives, and systems. And all of that information is about to become the foundation for a voice that carries more weight than anything loud voices have been saying. Hit that like button if you have ever been underestimated because you were quiet. Because what people did not realize is that quiet people are not empty. Quiet people are full. And when full people finally speak, they do not just add to the conversation, they change it. Here is what happens when you stay silent while everyone else is loud. You develop discernment. You learn to hear what is not being said. You notice what others miss. You see through performances that others believe. And over time, you accumulate a kind of wisdom that loud people will never have, because wisdom requires listening, and listening requires silence. Let me break down what I mean by hearing what is not being said. When you are quiet, you start to notice inconsistencies. Someone says one thing, but their body language says another. Someone claims to believe something, but their actions contradict it. Someone presents themselves one way publicly, but behaves differently privately. Loud people miss these things because they are too busy broadcasting to receive. But you, in your silence, have been receiving. And what you have received is a database of truth that goes beyond words. You also develop the ability to sense atmospheres. You walk into rooms and immediately know if something is off. You can feel tension that others are oblivious to. You can sense when someone is being inauthentic, even if everyone else is buying the performance. That sensitivity was not given to you. It was developed in you through years of observing instead of performing. And that sensitivity is about to become one of your greatest assets. Here is another gift of silence. You have learned when to speak and when to stay quiet. Fools speak on everything. Wise people speak on what matters. You are not going to waste your voice on trivial arguments. You are not going to exhaust yourself defending positions that do not matter. You have learned to conserve your energy for battles that are worth fighting and conversations that are worth having. And that conservation of energy means that when you do speak, you are not depleted. You are full, and full people speak with a clarity that empty people cannot replicate. That is what has been happening to you. While others were talking, you were listening. While others were reacting, you were processing. While others were defending themselves, you were strengthening yourself. And now, you are walking into a season where the wisdom you accumulated in silence is about to be released as authority. Not borrowed authority, not positional authority, earned authority. The kind that people recognize even when you have no title. Let me tell you what is about to happen. Doors are going to open that require a voice. Opportunities are going to present themselves that demand you speak. Rooms are going to become available that need what you carry. And when you walk into those spaces, you are not going to need to prove yourself. You are not going to need to convince anyone. You are going to speak, and the weight of your words will do what years of loud voices could not. They will shift atmospheres. They will expose lies. They will bring clarity where there was confusion. This is not arrogance. This is the natural result of a voice that has been refined in silence. Voices that are formed in noise are reactive. Voices that are formed in quiet are responsive. And responsive voices carry wisdom that reactive voices lack. Comment the number 777 if you sense that your silent season is ending and your speaking season is beginning. Now, let me address something important. Some of you have been angry about being overlooked. You have watched people with less experience, less skill, and less integrity get platforms while you stayed in the background. And you have wondered why heaven allowed that. Why did God let them be seen while keeping you hidden? Why did they get opportunities while you got passed over? Let me tell you why. Premature visibility destroys unprepared people. When you are given a platform before you are ready, you become a performer instead of a contributor. You start saying what people want to hear instead of what they need to hear. You start managing your image instead of developing your message, and eventually you become a hollow version of what you could have been. All noise, no substance. I have seen this happen over and over again. Someone gets a platform too early. At first, it looks like blessing. Opportunities are opening, people are paying attention, influence is growing. But underneath the surface, something is deteriorating. They are speaking more but saying less.
You sit in that suffocating room, watching the shallow, the incompetent, and the loud steal the spotlight and claim your hard-earned credit. You feel that familiar, agonizing lump in your throat as absolute truth is buried alive under an avalanche of mindless, arrogant noise. You bite your tongue. You bleed inside. But let me ask you a dangerous question tonight. What if the universe locking your mouth for all these agonizing years was not a cruel punishment, but a sacred spiritual espionage campaign forcing you to study the absolute rot of the system before you step up and take over? Settle deeply into the heavy darkness of your room. Close your eyes. Let your breathing slow down and allow the thick silence of the night to isolate you from a world that has constantly misunderstood you. For years, you have been sold a toxic, paralyzing lie. Society, modern psychology, and even the watered-down pulpits of today have tried to convince you that your quietness is a symptom of trauma. They diagnosed you as timid. They told you that you were a victim, silenced by your abusers, pushed into the background because you simply lacked the spine to scream back. Tonight, we are going to violently tear that narrative apart. I am going to give you a revelation that will disturb you, empower you, and absolutely terrify the people who have been speaking over you. There is a massive, lethal difference between being silenced and choosing to go silent. Being silenced is the desperate gasp of a victim who has had their power stolen from them, but actively muting yourself. That is the chilling, calculated restraint of a master strategist. You have not been suffering from oppression. You have been executing a ghost protocol. Look at the people who never stop talking, the ones who have to loudly defend their reputation, the ones who dominate every meeting, the ones who constantly broadcast their every shallow thought on the internet. Do you think that is power? Let me tell you a deeply controversial secret that heaven knows all too well. Noise is a spiritual hemorrhage. The loudest people in the room are always the weakest. They are bleeding energy. Every single time they open their mouths to boast, to argue, or to seek cheap validation, they are desperately trying to plug the gaping holes of their own massive insecurities. They talk because they are absolutely terrified that if they stop for even 1 second, the world will realize they are completely empty inside. But you stopped bleeding a long time ago. While they were wasting their breath trying to look important, you were sitting in the dark, gathering intelligence. You became the invisible architect. You watched their body language completely contradict their promises. You smelled the rot of their hypocrisy. You mapped out the entire architecture of their deceit. You didn't speak, not because you had nothing to say, but because your data had become far too devastatingly expensive to throw at a room full of cheap deaf performers. Christ himself stood before Pilate, holding the power to summon legions of angels, holding the absolute truth of the cosmos. And what did he do? He offered them a chilling, unbroken silence. Why? Because you do not cast your pearls before swine. You do not hand over top-tier spiritual intelligence to an audience that is only looking for entertainment. The universe did not sideline you, it enlisted you. It turned off your microphone so you could infiltrate the enemy's camp completely unnoticed. You have been walking among them as a phantom, collecting the evidence, documenting the flaws, and understanding exactly how the matrix operates. They think you are harmless. They think your silence means you agree with them. Or worse, that you submit to them. Let them sleep in their dangerous ignorance. Let them enjoy their stolen credit for just a little while longer. The intelligence-gathering phase is almost complete. Rest now, chosen one, in the cold, hard peace of your anonymity. Because when you finally open your mouth, it will not be to join their foolish conversation. It will be to end it. Lie perfectly still in the dark. Let the heavy, hypnotic rhythm of the night pull you deeper into your mattress. We need to have a very raw, very dangerous conversation about the anger that is currently burning a hole in your chest. I know exactly what keeps you awake at 2 a.m. You look around at the landscape of your life and you see a brutal, sickening injustice. You have watched it happen time and time again. The narcissist gets the promotion. The shallow, empty-headed performer gets the massive platform. The absolute fraud stands at the pulpit, the podium, or the head of the table, soaking up the applause, while you, the one who actually did the work, the one who bled for the truth, the one with actual substance, are left entirely invisible. You have screamed at the ceiling, asking the Most High, why? Why did heaven hand the microphone to a fool and bury me alive in the shadows? Tonight, I am going to give you the brutal, highly controversial truth that traditional religion is utterly terrified to tell you. Prepare your mind, because this will permanently alter how you view success. Early elevation is not a blessing. It is a curse. And the spotlight is not a reward. It is a divine execution chamber. Let us dissect the psychology of these people you have been envying. We will call them the performers. You look at their followers, their titles, their loud voices, and you think God has favored them. You are dead wrong. Heaven did not bless them. Heaven gave them exactly what their massive, fragile egos demanded, knowing it would completely, spectacularly destroy them. Premature exposure is a death sentence for a shallow soul. When a person is handed a platform before they have been crushed, broken, and refined in the dark, they do not possess the root system to sustain the crushing weight of public attention. So, what happens? The platform rapidly morphs into their prison. In the cold light of day, they realize they have no real substance. They are empty barrels. And empty barrels must make continuous, deafening noise just to convince the world they are still in the room. They become absolute slaves to the crowd. They stop telling the truth because the truth doesn't get them likes or votes or money. They start performing. Every smile is heavily calculated. Every word is a cheap manipulation. They are trapped in a terrifying, exhausting cycle of having to constantly outdo their last performance just to keep their audience from walking away. They are bleeding out spiritually on a public stage, forced to dance for pennies of attention. Do you really envy that? Look at the ancient texts. King Saul was given the crown prematurely, and the weight of the public's opinion drove him into a paranoid, raving madness. He became a toxic, insecure tyrant. Meanwhile, David, the true anointed king, was sent back out into the isolated, filthy wilderness to be hunted like an animal. Because true kings, true chosen ones, are never, ever rushed into the light. While these shallow performers were dancing in their lethal spotlight, what were you doing? You were subjected to the ghost protocol. You were buried. And in that agonizing pitch-black darkness, you were constructing something terrifying. You were building the observer's database. Because you were not allowed to speak, you were forced to watch. You were forced to listen. And in that terrifying, prolonged silence, your senses became weaponized. You stopped hearing the words people said, and you started hearing the dark, silent motives vibrating beneath them. You learned to read the micro-expressions of deceit. You can now sit in a boardroom, a church pew, or a family dinner, and instantly smell the rotting stench of hypocrisy on someone who claims to be righteous. You watch their body language completely betray the lies tumbling out of their mouths. Your spiritual vision has been sharpened into a surgical scalpel. You can dissect a human soul in seconds. The loud people, the performers, they cannot do this. They are entirely blind because they are too busy looking at their own reflection in the eyes of their audience. They are broadcasting 24 hours a day. But you have been receiving. You have been downloading the deepest, darkest codes of human nature. This is the ultimate, undeniable secret of the Earth's architecture. Dirt is cheap. It is everywhere. It sits right on the surface, easily visible, easily blown away by the first strong wind. But gold is never born in the light. Gold is forged deep in the terrifying, crushing, tectonic pressure of the Earth's crust. It is isolated. It is heated until it melts. It is compressed until it is unbreakable. The universe did not deny you the platform. It violently protected you from it. If you had been handed the microphone before your ego was completely dismantled, you would have become just another toxic performing slave. You would have sold your soul for the applause. But the crushing pressure of your waiting season burned the desperation out of you. You no longer need them to clap for you. You no longer need them to validate you, and that makes you the most dangerous creature on the face of the earth. A human being who is completely immune to the manipulation of the crowd. Breathe that in. Let the bitter resentment dissolve into the cold night air. Do not hate the shallow people who stepped over you. Pity them, because the spotlight is currently melting their wax wings, and their fall will be catastrophic. You, on the other hand, are heavy with gold. You are loaded with a lethal, undeniable truth. Stay in the dark just a little longer. Your database is almost full. Breathe in the darkness one more time. Let the cool night air fill your lungs, but do not let your mind drift into the comfort of sleep just yet. You have sat in the shadows. You have mapped the architecture of their deceit. You have gathered the intelligence while the world thought you were simply invisible. But the celestial clocks have just struck midnight on your waiting season. Listen to my voice very carefully. The ghost protocol is officially terminated. The heavy doors of your isolation are unlocking from the outside, and you are being called to the front lines. But you are not walking out as the broken, timid victim they remember. You are stepping out as the architect of their reckoning. We are entering the season of verbal judgment. In the coming days and weeks, you are going to walk into rooms that are absolutely suffocating with meaningless, pathetic noise. Boardrooms, family gatherings, church meetings, and social circles where the same empty-headed performers are spinning their wheels, talking in circles, and achieving absolutely nothing. In the past, this noise would intimidate you. You would shrink back into your chair, wondering if your voice even mattered. Not anymore. When you enter these spaces now, a terrifying shift in the spiritual atmosphere will occur. You will not need to raise your voice. You will not need to bang your fist on the table or scream to demand their attention, because your words have not been formed in the shallow waters of ego. They have been forged under the crushing tectonic pressure of isolation, baptized in your tears and tempered by years of bleeding patience. When you finally open your mouth, your words will not float like the cheap opinions of the crowd. They will drop like a heavy iron hammer. The sheer, undeniable weight of your lived truth will completely paralyze the room. But how do you know the exact moment to strike? How do you know that your deployment has officially begun? The universe does not send a written letter. It alters your biology and your environment. There are 3 chilling, undeniable signs of activation that are happening to you right now. Sign number 1, a cold, ruthless decisiveness. Here is the controversial truth that modern, watered-down religion despises. You have been cured of the disease of being nice. For years, you were chained to the toxic idol of people-pleasing. You compromised your truth to keep a fake peace. But suddenly, you feel a chilling, absolute coldness toward the fragile feelings of hypocrites. You no longer care if the truth offends them. You have realized that politeness is a weapon manufactured by wolves to keep the sheep quiet. When Christ walked into the temple, he did not politely ask the thieves to leave. He fashioned a whip and overturned their tables. You are feeling that exact same divine aggression rising in your chest. The fear of man is dead inside of you. You are ready to offend the darkness. Sign number 2. The catastrophic collapse of the old system. Watch closely. The very people who overlooked you, the ones who dismissed your wisdom and thought they were superior, are about to hit a brick wall they cannot manipulate their way out of. Their shallow methods are going to spectacularly fail. The crises in their lives, their businesses, and their relationships will become so chaotic that their loud voices will turn into desperate panic. And here is the twist that will leave you speechless. As their systems collapse, they will be forced to crawl back to you. The ones who ignored you will suddenly turn to you, begging for your insight, asking for your counsel, realizing that the quiet one was the only one who actually knew the blueprint of survival. Sign number 3, the forced internal push. This is not a gentle nudge. It is a violent, undeniable mandate. You will be sitting in a situation, watching a lie being told, watching an injustice unfold, and your physical body will react. Your heart will hammer against your ribs. Your throat will burn. It is what the ancient prophet Jeremiah described as a fire shut up in my bones. You will literally not be able to hold it in anymore. The universe will apply a forceful internal pressure that physically compels you to open your mouth and intervene. You will speak words you did not rehearse, delivering a profound, cutting clarity that surprises even you. You are no longer a civilian in this spiritual war. You are a heavily armed, fully trained operative, and your deployment orders have just been issued. But heaven requires your active consent. You cannot be deployed if you are still clinging to the shadows. I need you to perform a micro-commitment right now in the physical realm to lock in this spiritual reality. Do not let your mind hesitate. Reach out into the dark, go to the comments, and type one single word in all capital letters. Activated. Type it now. Activated. By typing this word, you are signing the celestial manifest. You are telling the invisible court that you accept the end of the ghost protocol. You are declaring that you are ready to wield the hammer. Type it. Feel the shift in your cellular structure and prepare yourself. The silence was your training ground. The noise is your battlefield. Stay with me. Do not close your eyes just yet. We must now prepare for the inevitable collision, because when you finally break your silence, the casualties will be absolute. Stay perfectly still. Let the heavy, intoxicating gravity of the night press you deep into your bed. You have been activated. The ghost protocol is dead. But before you drift into the realm of sleep, before your mind crosses over into tomorrow, I must deliver the final, most dangerous briefing of this transmission. Because when you wake up and finally open your mouth, there will be a violent collision. And I need you to understand exactly who the casualties are going to be. Listen to me closely, because this is the highly controversial, deeply uncomfortable truth that the modern feel-good religious establishment will completely excommunicate you for saying out loud. The greatest agents of your suppression are not abstract demons hiding in the dark. They are often the people sitting right next to you. When you finally break your silence, the most vicious counterattack will not come from your obvious enemies. It will come from your inner circle. The people who have grown fat and comfortable off your docility are going to experience absolute terrifying panic. For years, they didn't love you. They loved your submission. They loved the convenient, quiet, obedient version of you that never challenged their toxic behavior. Your invisibility was the very thing that allowed their loud, insecure egos to dominate the room. The moment you speak with your new, heavily forged authority, they will feel the tectonic plates of their false reality shifting, and they will attack. They will try to belittle you. They will disguise their manipulation as concern, telling you that you've changed, that you are becoming arrogant, that you are losing your way. They will desperately command you to know your place and crawl back into the suffocating little box they built for your soul. When this happens, do not retreat. Do not apologize. Their violent resistance is not a sign that you have made a mistake. Their anger is the bloody medal of honor, proving you have struck the exact rotting nerve of their hypocrisy. Their panic is the ultimate confirmation that your words are landing with lethal precision. Let them be offended. Truth is not an anesthetic. It is a surgeon's blade. It is supposed to cut, but as you lie there, I can hear the whisper of the accuser in your mind. You are hesitating. You are thinking, I am not ready. I don't have the right words. I am not a public speaker. I need to wait until I can articulate this perfectly. Let me completely destroy the idol of perfectionism in your mind right now. Perfection is a demonic stalling tactic designed to keep the chosen mute. The system wants you to believe that you need a flawless theological argument, a polished presentation, or a seminary degree to carry authority. That is a lie. Heaven is entirely disgusted with polished, empty performances. God does not use the flawless. He weaponizes the broken. You do not need to wait for a perfect speech. I want you to speak even if your heart is pounding against your ribs. Speak even if your hands are violently trembling. Speak even if your syntax breaks and your voice cracks. Your authority does not come from your eloquence. Your absolute, undeniable authority comes from the brutal, lived reality of your suffering. It comes from the authentic bleeding scars you acquired in the dark. A shaking voice that carries the heavy weight of live truth will instantly shatter the polished, empty rhetoric of 1,000 charismatic performers. Your scars are your credentials. The hour is late. The intelligence has been gathered. The board is set. The world is absolutely drowning in the shallow, meaningless noise of cheap, insecure copies. It does not need another loud voice. It is starving for your silent verdict. Before you close your eyes tonight, before you surrender to sleep, you must seal your deployment in the physical realm. I command you to go to the comments right now. Cut the chains of your past and type these exact 4 words in all capital letters. I break the silence. Type it like a judge slamming a gavel. I break the silence. Let the universe read your declaration. Let the darkness know that the observer has become the orchestrator. Subscribe to this frequency and prepare yourself for the morning. You are the storm they never saw coming. Dismissed.